Let's talk about
lost
this
the freedom for a moment.
this story here we got from the Daily Beast. Now, the Daily Beast is fake news,
Yep.
as NewsGuard says right here. They say, is fake news. Proceed with caution. And they claim the biggest migrant caravan on collision course with Trump-era border order. Scott Bigsby, White House reporter. Now, I can't prove this is real because NewsGuard says Daily Beast is fake. But can you guys tell me about what's going on with the border? Did Daily Beast actually, for once, publish a real story?
So I mean, what I could say about the caravan, I'm speaking with some sources in Mexico. So the caravan right now is between 10,000 to 15,000 people. Now the reason why we always see caravans and kind of rolling in the kind of these mass groups is because they're technically not allowed to travel legally through Mexico. So that's why they kind of go together like that. They could overpower authorities. What the Mexican officials did, and we've been trying to report on it, is they actually granted these people work visas. So for the first time, this caravan is actually legally allowed to travel through Mexico, meaning they could hop on buses, they could hop on taxis. Because normally, when you're not allowed to legally travel through Mexico as a migrant, the Mexican police actually kick you off buses and trains. So this group is actually legally allowed to travel. Now, because they are legally allowed to travel, we're not going to see the 15,000 hit the border all at once. It's going to be more spread out. They are going to reach the border a little bit quicker. And according to our sources, most of them are going to be arriving through South Texas. Now, one thing that I did reporting on my last border trip, we were there for Title 42. Is if you guys remember, back in April, Texas Governor Greg Abbott made 4 agreements with 4 different Mexican state governors along the border to beef up security, stop the flow of drugs, and all that stuff. Ever since then, Abbott has gone on and touted that agreement as a success. We've literally spent time in Mexico all over through those areas, and we just literally published the investigation. You guys have to check it out. But we exposed that the Mexican authorities don't even do anything. I mean, we were literally jumping in the water with the migrants, crossing in with them, and everything. We were embedded with these groups, and the Mexican authorities don't even listen to any of Abbott's orders. The only day that the Mexican officials set up authorities on the riverbanks and stop migration is when Governor Greg Abbott visited Eagle Pass. So then the Mexican security set it up in Pedas Negras right across, and they put up a little show for Greg Abbott. But after that, they don't even listen to the United States. President Amo didn't even attend the Summit of Americas in Los Angeles. President of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, President of Guatemala and Honduras have been very upset with Vice President Kamala Harris and her handling of the border crisis because Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, says, my goal is to keep Salvadorians in El Salvador, but when you guys do the open border policy, well, the human smugglers are going to take over. So you have 4 presidents that are very key in this migration debate who didn't even attend the Summit of Americas. I think that's a huge loss foreign policy for the Biden
administration.
administration.
It's creating a lot of brain drain, and a lot of people don't realize that this immigration debate is far more complex than hey, just people want to come over here. There's a lot of other economic effects, especially when it comes to cheapening labor, especially when it comes to housing costs going up, especially with the increase of immigration, that are going to have a net effect on the larger economic picture that we're all dealing with. So it's far more complex, and there's far more things intertwined in this that we don't even know, that we're not even debating and talking about and discussing.
I wanted to ask you something. You mentioned that they've actually been given the work visas to travel through Mexico this time. Why did that happen?
You know, the Mexican officials, because one thing that they do is they don't like it when a bunch of migrants are basically in their town. So, like, basically the first town that the migrants hit is Tapachula. So what they do is they hit Tapachula, and the Mexican officials stop them there. And they said, you're not allowed to travel. And basically what happens is more migrants come, and they kind of create a bottleneck. I don't know if you guys remember last year when those 15,000 Haitians all arrived in Del Rio, Texas at once. They all started off in Tapachula, but the officials in Tapachula got so overwhelmed, they just gave them work, like literally visas, and were like, dude, just leave. And then all those Haitians traveled together, and they ended up crashing the border. So that's one thing that this President Amo of Mexico, he feels no pressure from Biden to do absolutely anything. And then the Mexican authorities are making a fool out of Greg Abbott. That's what we're trying to expose in our report. You know, we have a Republican governor who's touting his agreements as a success, while we're literally jumping in the water with migrants. Like, we're literally, crossing with them. And, for a lot of people watching this, you might think, well, look, I live in Ohio, I live in Michigan, I live in Pennsylvania, I'm not a border town, I don't care. Well, you might not be impacted by the migrants, coming in, the drug smugglers being car chases, but that fentanyl is still coming into your state. I mean, the number one state impacted by fentanyl right now is Ohio, and it's impacting the white working class. You're not going to hear that in mainstream media because any issue that impacts white working class, they don't even cover. But the fentanyl issue has become really a top concern that we've been trying to cover. Even in my own hometown in Palmdale, I covered fentanyl death of a 22-year-old guy. His name is Jordan Erickson. He popped his knee at a gym, and a local came up to him and gave him an Oxycontin and said, hey, Jordan, take this. 24 hours later, Jordan was dead because it was a counterfeit pill. And we're seeing that phenomenon with 13-year-olds right now, where they think they're taking ecstasy the first time. They think they're taking a Vicodin. It ends up being a counterfeit pill. And the thing, guys, with fentanyl, there's no second chance, So we're in some scary times.